Hey everyone, I'm Johanna, yoga and meditation teacher, Reiki master, sound healing practitioner, and sacred cacao facilitator. You're listening to the Vibrational Shift podcast, dedicated to people looking to reconnect with themselves. Together, we'll explore different energy healing modalities, meditations, breathwork, sound healing, and so much more. Are you ready to experience a vibrational shift with me? The time has finally come. The final episode of season 1. Hey guys, it's me, Johanna. So I've been talking about recording this episode, I feel like literally every single episode since I started back in November. And I realized why it's taken me so long to share more about who I am. And I kind of love that this is the last episode of the season because I felt like I had to jump right in and get you guys some of the information before I could talk about myself. So, who am I? My name is Johanna and I wear so many different labels. I'm a mom, a wife, a sister, daughter, dog mom, yoga and meditation teacher, breathwork guide, sacred cacao facilitator, sound healer, and Reiki master. I'm a person that has the goal of living from the heart, which isn't always easy to do in life. Sometimes our rational minds want to dictate what we can and should be doing. And I started this podcast, and like I said, I jumped right into sharing my thoughts around how we could examine what I call the vibrational shifts in your lives. For me, I think of them as those sticky moments when life feels like, honestly, just a lot. Whether it be a transition big or small in your life, I know how important it is to have something present in your personal practice to ground you. For me, some of the practices that I've leaned heavily on throughout my life are ritual, meditation, breathwork, yoga and movement, talk therapy, sound healing, sacred cacao, and probably so many other things that are not literally coming to me in this moment. But these are what I've leaned on. And when I'm going through adjustments in life, and honestly, our entire lives are filled with adjustments, shifts, and recalibrations, these are the ones that I know I can constantly come back to. They're the pieces that keep me grounded, bring me present to the moment. They can bring me out of my state of anxiety or out of that place of worrying either about the past or what the future holds. Right? When I can remind myself to be present and in the moment, that's when all of that starts to kind of dissolve. So how did I find yoga? All right. So about 13 years ago, 13 years ago, I was working at a nonprofit in DC and worked on the really heavy topic of human trafficking. And, leadership wanted us to have some self-care in place, and they brought in some yoga teachers to come in and do some yoga with us after work. It was once a week, and I remember when I signed up, I had no idea what I was signing up for. I thought I was just going to be stretching. And so the teachers came in and they were so lovely. They guided us through a very accessible yoga practice, and we ended that practice, I'll never forget, with legs up the wall. And as I laid there on the conference room floor, I remember feeling like I could feel my body dissolving. I felt the tension that I had held throughout my entire body melt away, and for me, I was hooked. I was like, I don't know what this is. I was just consciously breathing for the last hour. I think it was like an hour-long class. And I'm laying here with my colleagues on the floor, and I feel so good. Mind you, that first class was probably one of the hardest things I had ever done in my life. While the poses were accessible, listening was so hard for me. I found that I could not keep up with the instruction because I was so in my mind thinking about, do I look like I know what I'm doing? Do I look like I don't know what I'm doing? And I kept finding myself so in my head that I realized for the first time ever how much I was not present and in the moment and not in my own body. And that became something that I almost kind of got excited about seeing if I could really drop in and pay attention. And I think that's initially what hooked me, aside from that amazing feeling in Shavasana. And so I started trying out all different kinds of yoga studios. I worked in Adams Morgan at the time, and there was this really beautiful studio just a couple minutes away. Then there were studios kind of trickled around where I was at, and I lived in Maryland, so I tried out the yoga studios over there and eventually got a membership, and I just could not get enough, right? And then a couple years later, I had a pretty regular practice. Then I lost my grandmother. It was a couple years later, and when I lost my grandmother, I had a really hard time grieving her death for a lot of different reasons. And I'll never forget, there was one class I went to, and in Shavasana, I had this like out-of-body experience where after a while, it must have been a couple months after my grandmother had passed, I felt this unwinding in my heart space. And that's when I knew that yoga was so much more than just a physical practice. It gave me the ability to kind of tap into a different form of healing I didn't even know was possible. It was the first thing that had brought me back into my body after grieving, right? So this was about 2013. About a year later, my grandfather passed. And then I found out I was pregnant about 3 or 4 months later, I found out I was pregnant. And I started doing prenatal yoga with an amazing yoga teacher. And I can't remember if I've shared this story or not, but if you know me, then you've heard this story before. And in one of the classes that we had, my teacher, her name is Jess Appo, and she goes by Hot Yoga Mom on Instagram. She's a phenomenal yoga teacher. She led us through this visualization in this prenatal class where we got to envision a loved one who had passed holding our unborn child. And this was 9 years ago, so I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And I was actually at the time taking that prenatal class with a cousin of mine, and I remember we were sitting next to each other and we were just in tears by the end of that visualization. And again, it was a whole different aspect and element of really bringing together body, mind, and spirit. And because I was going through this transition of becoming a mother, I had the chance to envision myself my grandmother that had passed, like giving her my daughter to hold, right? And to envision what that would look like. And it gave me a whole different level of healing. You know, my physical body a year prior had like this unwinding of the grief that I had been holding on to. And this was kind of like a different aspect of what that healing process looked like as I was making that transition into motherhood. So I always think about this class in particular because it had such a profound impact on the direction that my life would take, right? I had already thrown myself into my yoga practice, but this really led me down a spiritual practice of really looking at how yoga was so much more than a set of poses on the mat. And for me, it was really starting to take on how I could learn to live my yoga off the mat. And so I share this story to say that this moment right here of me doing that visualization in that prenatal yoga class really did spur the desire to be able to share that same feeling, that same aha moment of lifting the veil of life before yoga, but life before a physical practice yoga. I had met myself on the mat in that moment and really knew that I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to be able to share how yoga could transform your life beyond just doing it as a physical practice, which is how a lot of us are taught, right? Here in the Western world. And I was so grateful that I was going to have the chance to potentially do this one day, to potentially be able to guide other women through their own aha moments. Fast forward a couple years, it took me some time. I had just had a baby, had work. I was finishing up getting my master's degree at the time, and eventually I found my way into a yoga teacher training. And then that opened up the door to what felt like a binge of yoga teacher trainings. I did a 200-hour yoga teacher training. I did a 300 yoga hour teacher training, followed by a prenatal yoga teacher training, then followed by a fertility for yoga, yoga for fertility training. And each training that I took was just opening up the door for more in my life. The more that I learned, the more that I wanted to share. And I originally took the yoga teacher training and didn't know if I would want to teach. I remember walking into the first day of training, and when they said, all right, it's time to do some practice teaching, I wanted to just melt into the floor and disappear. I had no desire to do it because I was so in my head about, oh my goodness, I am not good enough to be doing this. I don't even know what to say right now. But lo and behold, at about the midway point when we did our midterm practice teach for our full group, I don't know, something inside of me was like, this feels amazing. To be able to lead a group of people in unison through breath and through a body awareness. And I, like I said, by the end of the entire 200-hour teacher training, I was hooked. And so I immediately started teaching. Actually, before I even finished my 200-hour training, I think I had started teaching at the very end of that. And then immediately, like I said, went right into a 300-hour YTT. Somewhere in between, I had also found out about Reiki. I had gotten my first Reiki treatment, and it just so happens that there was a Reiki training happening at the same time. So while I was going through yoga teacher training, my 200-hour, there was also a simultaneous Reiki training happening. So I did it. I signed up and I did it. And over the span of 18 months, I ended up doing all 3 levels and became a Reiki master. When I fast forward just a little bit and go a little bit further in time, I ended up doing a sound healing training, a level 1, and I'll never forget it. It was like a 20-hour training, and I got to learn about how to use my voice to help with, as a form of energy healing for folks, and how I could combine my voice with Reiki, and then eventually with bowls, and it opened up a whole nother portal of just healing in general, but also really finding a sense of peace, which I'm so grateful I found it at the time that I did, because it was about a year and some change before COVID happened. And honestly, sound healing is the one thing that allowed me to feel safe in my body during COVID. I've said this so many times, when I've shared in person with the different workshops that I lead, sound healing for me truly was a saver. I found out I was pregnant right before the world shut down. And so there wasn't very much for me to do to keep myself from going into those places of anxiety, because I was so nervous since I was pregnant, and, the world was such an unsure place. And I'll never forget, I was traveling for my regular full-time job, and I was in Paris, and they had just declared, I think the last day that I was there on that trip, they had just declared it a pandemic, and I flew home from that trip And then the following week, they closed down travel from France into the United States. And I just remember being in such a shock, right? And so during that time, I really leaned in heavily to all of the different practices that I had. So, what do I do now? Now I take all of the different things that I've shared, the rituals, meditation, breath work, yoga and movement, talk therapy. Well, not the talk therapy, but everything else, sound healing, sacred cacao. And those are my offerings. I offer them private, with private individuals and group sessions. For those of you that are in the DC, Maryland, or Virginia area, I do a ton of workshops that kind of bounce around from place to place in Maryland and Virginia and in DC. And I also host retreats. I have 2 retreats actually this year. I have one coming up this summer in West Virginia. They're actually both in West Virginia this year. One in the summer and then another one coming up in the fall. And I love being in community. I love sharing sacred space with the people that come. And what I found is that through the years, actually it's kind of interesting. So through the years, the people that find their way to these events, these in-person events especially, they've never tried meditation, or they've never tried breath work or sound healing. And this is like the portal to them being able to go a little bit deeper in their work. Maybe they have a yoga practice. Maybe they've done a little bit of meditation at the end of a yoga class, but they've never actually sat and done it for a long period of time. And so I feel like those of you that have been to an event tend to be the ones that are ready to go a little bit deeper. And that makes me so happy, especially when we're in circle and people are ready to open up their hearts to receive, but then also open up their hearts to listen and hold space for others. All of the work that I do is really centered around helping women find their way back to self-love. That could be self-love through physical, emotional, and vibrational practices. I think personally the most critical element of our path to self-discovery, and the hardest, is really learning how to love ourselves. When we go down this path, we learn how to honor and respect that, we're complex and we hold a variety of emotions within our body and in our experiences. And so that means having to confront all the pieces of who you are, and without judgment, giving yourself the grace of knowing that you have these aspects of yourself that sometimes we tend to label bad, or that we label good, or that we don't want other people to see. But when we sit down and we start to do this work of really knowing who we are, embracing who we are, we get to decide what's true and what's not. Sometimes we can go through life thinking that we are X, Y, or Z because that's what we've been told since we were children. And some of us find that as we become adults that actually that's not true. I don't have to be this anymore. I can change my mind and be something different in this moment right here, right now. So, I've now talked about myself for a really long time, and I'll continue to check in. And you'll get to learn a little bit more about me as we go into season 2. I have already recorded quite a few different interviews with different practitioners from all over the country. And hopefully you'll get to learn a little bit more about my story through those reflections and conversations with the practitioners. I have a special gift for you guys today, though, because I talk about self-love and a lot of the work that I post and the content that I post on Instagram. I wanted to leave you guys with a beautiful practice. It's a practice that I did in person this past weekend, and It was recorded live, so that means there are points where I sound a little bit far away from the mic, and it's because I am. It's because I'm literally walking around the room with a drum in my hand, or I'm walking around the room with a different instrument of some sort. So for this practice that's about to play up next, it is a Yoga Nidra practice. I will include a little bit more about what Yoga Nidra is in the show notes, so that way you understand the benefits and why it's good for you to do it. But a couple of things to keep in mind as you set up for this practice. You want to make sure that you create what we call a rest nest. This is basically creating a space that allows you to get very comfortable, but also you're not going to fall asleep in. So I don't like to lay flat on my back for Yoga Nidra. I like to be on a slight incline so that I'm not totally relaxed and don't fall asleep, which I am notorious for falling asleep and going somewhere else during the Yoga Nidra meditations when I'm actually practicing them. And so if you can, I would recommend having either a pillow or a bolster to keep you propped up slightly, and a blanket to keep you kind of warm. If you need any other additional props, like maybe, I don't know what you're working with at home, but if you have yoga blocks, it's nice to have the yoga blocks underneath of the arms to like give you almost like a little lazy boy effect. Or if you have a couch that has like legs that come up like an actual lazy boy, definitely recommend doing it there. But you'll hear me guide you like to not have your head too far back and not have your head too far forward, because you don't want to like fall asleep. So this particular practice, like I said, is all about self-love. So if you can, I recommend having a journal nearby so that you can record any thoughts and maybe spend a couple of minutes afterwards journaling. And the particular Yoga Nidra that I am reading from is actually from a book by Tamara Verma, and it is called the Yoga Nidra Scripts. There's 22 different meditations like written out that you can purchase the book on Amazon. I'll be sure to include the link if you'd like to take a look at other Yoga Nidra scripts as well, but that's the one that I decided to share with the group. So I made a couple of modifications to the script as I was reading it, but I hope you enjoy. So take a moment, hit pause, get yourself set up for a little bit of Yoga Nidra and sound. Kind of shift around in your seat, getting as comfortable as possible. And find a place for your hands that feels supportive to you. So maybe that is over the low belly, over the heart, or resting by your side. So we'll begin with a mantra, the sound of Om, the sacred syllable of higher consciousness, and the words Shanti, 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 which is peace in Sanskrit. So release the breath, and if you feel called to join in with me, please feel free to do so. Inhale. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Getting comfortable here. Take a moment to just shift around in the cozy rest nest that you've created, feeling as comfortable as possible in this moment. Getting ready to do nothing. This time is just for you. This practice is just for you. There are no shoulds or shouldn'ts. There's no way you can do this wrong. This is about you. This is for you. So make yourself as comfortable as you like, in just the way you like. Adjusting anything you like, in any way that you like. Listening in to what you need, and then answering that request. Do whatever you need to feel supported, held, and free to let go of tensions. Getting comfortable for this practice of non-doing. Check in with how you feel. Your setup should make you feel at ease, but not sleepy. And if you do feel sleepy, you could make it less warm, maybe by removing a blanket. You can also check your head position. If your chin is tucked in, it can stimulate sleep, so try moving your head into neutral alignment here. Chin neither tucked nor raised. And notice how it might change your energy and alertness. Try moving your head into a position where you feel relaxed, yet still alert and not sleepy. Beginning a check now that each body part is as relaxed as can be. If you can't completely relax, that's fine. You're welcome just as you are. Check that your feet and ankles are relaxed as can be. Calves, knees, and thighs, relaxed as can be. Hips, relaxed as can be. Lower back, middle back, upper back, releasing tension. Your whole back melting. Hands and arms letting go. Shoulders and neck melting, tension diffusing. Jaw, tongue, and cheeks softening. Eyes, forehead, and scalp softening. Whole body melting into the support of the earth beneath you. Held by the support of the earth beneath you. Nothing for you to do. Body is supported and resting. Awareness continues on. Yoga Nidra has now begun. Now beginning the process of sweeping energy throughout the body. As awareness moves, you direct energy from point to point. You might like to experience it as a loving caress of energy, or a little smile to each body part along the way. Experiencing in any way that feels soothing. Float awareness over to the right hand. Welcome the right hand, thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. Awareness floating over to the left hand thumb. All experiences are welcome. Left index finger, left middle finger, ring finger, little finger. Right wrist, left wrist, right elbow, left elbow. Soothing caress of energy. Right shoulder, left shoulder, hollow of the throat, back of the head near the top, crown of the head, eyebrow center, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, right eye, left eye, right ear, left ear, right cheek, left cheek, tip of the nose, upper lip, lower lip, tip of the chin, hollow of the throat, heart center, right side of the chest, heart center, left side of the chest, heart center, navel center, tip of the tailbone, right hip, left hip, right knee, left knee, sweeping energy, right ankle, left ankle, right big toe, right second toe, right third toe, right fourth toe, right little toe, left big toe, left second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. The whole right side of the body, all is welcome. The whole left side of the body, all is welcome. The whole body together, the whole body together, the whole body together. Welcome the whole body all at once. Every aspect of the body in every way is welcome. And now, allow the memory of one lovely experience you've had in your life to arise in your awareness. Lovely experience. Something that made you smile. Maybe something you saw, felt, tasted, smelled. Maybe even just the ease of this moment. Thanking the body for its role in allowing you to be there at that moment, to enjoy that lovely experience. Thanking your body for all the little ways it contributed to this joy, learning and evolving in your life. Appreciating the body and also knowing your being extends far beyond the body alone, exploring further now beyond the physical body to the energy body. Breath awareness. Bring awareness to the breath. Just the natural breath, nothing for you to do. Body is miraculously breathing itself. Body is taking care of this for you. Notice the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. 2 streams of air softly flowing in and flowing out. Feel as you breathe in that you are breathing in energy, vital life force. This vital life force is known as prana. breathing in prana energy. As this energy flows in, feel that you pull it in all the way down to the navel center. And as you exhale, feel the energy disperse out to all parts of the energy body. Inhale, pulling energy in deep down to the navel center. Exhale, energy dispersing through a network of energy tubes like the nerves of the physical body. Inhaling energy down to the navel center. Exhaling, it disperses out to the tips of the fingers, toes, crown of the head. Inhale down to the navel center. Exhale energy out to all parts of your energy body. Keep breathing in this way for the next few breaths. Inhaling energy and exhaling, dispersing energy throughout your energy body. Bring awareness back to the breath if it's wandered off. Inhaling energy, exhaling, dispersing energy throughout the energy body. Maybe beginning to feel as if the whole body is alive with energy, pulsing, vibrating, tingling. Recognizing this energy body, a more subtle aspect of your being. The energy body gives life to all aspects of your being and allows you to feel. Notice any positive sensation in this moment. Maybe a feeling of energy, peace, expansion. Give gratitude to the energy body for allowing you to feel this positive sensation. Diving further into the self now, exploring on, there are deeper layers of your being to discover. Now opening up to the creativity of the mind and access to inner wisdom. A series of symbols will be named. The mind might or might not spontaneously project images. Simply be the witness, as if watching a screen, images or no images, it doesn't matter. Simply watching with detached awareness. A bright star, a bright star, a bright star. Paper airplane, paper airplane, paper airplane. Frog in a pond, frog in a pond, frog in a pond. Yellow flower, yellow flower, yellow flower. Misty mountains, misty mountains, misty mountains. Bushel of apples, bushel of apples, bushel of apples. Waves on the ocean, waves on the ocean, waves on the ocean. Cozy sweater, cozy sweater, cozy sweater. Pink clouds, pink clouds, pink clouds. Sunlight shining through a crystal. Sunlight shining through a crystal. Sunlight shining through a crystal. taking a moment now to thank the mind for any pleasant, creative, or insightful experiences that might have arisen. Your mind is a subtle and useful part of your being, and yet still there is more to yourself. The deepest part of yourself is there through it all, aware of every experience ever present, present in the experience of the physical body, present when the body is resting, present when experiencing the energy body and when not experiencing the energy body, present in the experience of the mind and even when the mind is resting as in deep sleep. There is a thread that remains, the essence of your being. It is awareness. Beyond body, energy, mind, you are awareness. Pure awareness without any trappings, unaffected by any state of body, energy, or mind, eternally peaceful and free. Your essence is peace. You are peace. You are the one you've been looking for all along. You are the one you've been looking for all along. Rest now in the sublime beauty and peace that is you. You in the deepest essence, pure awareness, eternally peaceful and free. I invite you to deepen your breath here. As we transition over to the sound
an invitation to maybe set your intention here. How do you want to feel? What do you need? Calling that in for yourself. Stating your intention in the form of I am. And we'll seal all of our intentions together with one big breath in and a big breath out. So breathe in. Let it all go. Begin to deepen the breath here. Bringing your awareness back into the body. Gently wiggling the toes. Maybe pedaling through the feet, rotating through the ankles. Small movements in the fingertips. Maybe clenching and releasing the hands, circling through the wrist. Taking as much time as you need here as you reawaken the body.
Thank you so much for joining me on this final episode of Season 1. It's taken me a while, but I learned a lot, and guess what? Season 2 is already more than halfway done. Some great guests that are going to be joining me to talk about vibrational shifts in their lives, transitions, adjustments, what they've learned, and the practices that they relied on to help get them through those transitions in life. And I said this before, I think I say it at the end of every episode, but I'd love to connect with you guys. So please don't be shy. Reach out on Instagram. I'm at Luna Serenity Yoga. If you're not already on my email list, head over to lunaserenity.com. I share with the email list all different kinds of in-person workshops and events, including the different retreats that I have, and occasionally we'll send out discount codes that are exclusive to the email list only. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, night, whenever it is that you're tuning into this. I wish you the best. Sending you all my love. Bye.